Good afternoon, Chris Young here. Welcome to Maths, National 5 Maths. So, because I was born in the 70s, the school system when I was growing up is a bit different from the way it is now. Now, in my day, it was all standard grades and hires and 6-year studies, but now it's all curriculum of excellence and National 5s and National 4 and hires and advanced hires. And I don't know what year you're supposed to be studying this stuff. I think National 5 is, what does it say here? National 5 must be before higher, so it must be a 4th year thing. This book provides a resource to practice and assess your understanding of maths covered for the National 5 qualification. Blah, 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 blah. Link to higher. National 5 mathematics is a stepping stone to higher mathematics. Okay. So presumably you study National 5 in 4th year. Alright. Anyway, maths. Maths. The reason I'm studying maths is because I won't be teaching it, but we need to use it for physics, don't we? So I'm not going to be able to do physics without maths. So this first unit is about numbers, which are very, very important in maths. I think you'll agree. And the first chapter starts off by grouping numbers into different sets. And I've come up with a mnemonic to help me remember the different types of numbers that we have. And the mnemonic is this: nap with zoologists quite rarely. Okay? Nap with zoologists quite rarely. That's my advice. And that is because you've got N, which is your natural numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. W, which is whole numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Z, which is your integers, I believe, which is all of the above plus negative numbers. And then Q is rational numbers. I know, seems a bit irrational if you ask me, having the letter Q to describe rational numbers. Rational numbers are any numbers, all of the above including fractions and decimals. And numbers that make sense. Numbers that behave, basically. Nap with zoologists quite rarely. R is irrational numbers. And these are the numbers that you don't want to mess with. An example of an irrational number is pi. That's a very irrational number. It's also known as a transcendental number. And surds. Now, what is a surd, I hear you ask? Well, I also couldn't remember or didn't know what a surd was. S-U-R-D, a surd. A surd is, imagine you want to find the square root of 2. You can either type that into a calculator and it'll come up like 1.46321 or whatever, and continue on to infinity. Or you can just keep it as the square root of 2 and just be satisfied with that. And the square root of 2 is the exact value, the exact number. If you calculate the square root of 2, at some point you're going to have to stop going down all the decimals. You're going to have to say, look, we need to write this number down somewhere. I'm going to round it up or round it down to something. And if you do that, and then you make more calculations with that in the future, imagine you're calculating something for like a spaceship, a space rocket, and you have to plug in this value, the square root of 2, and you think, oh, I'll just put in 1.43. That's close enough. And then you multiply it by something else, divide it by something else, by the number of people in the cockpit, divided by the distance from the Earth, all over the square root of, something, something, something. And further on down the line, you might be quite far off the real square root of 2, because the difference, the error or the discrepancy, I mean, imagine if it's like, yeah, it would be the end. Houston would have a problem. So basically, there are times when you just want to say, right, it's the square root of 2. Let's just leave it at that. Okay. And the interesting thing about surds is that you can mess about with them inside the square root sign or the cube root sign to simplify them. And for example, the square root of 4, root 4, is not a surd, is it? Because that's just 2, which is a natural number, a whole number, an integer, and a rational number. So I think you'll find, I'm no expert, but that's what I think it is. So it's not, root 4 is not a surd. So you have to be up with your roots. You need to get back to your roots, basically. And you need to remember things like 64 is the square of 8, and all that. So you need to keep a sharp eye on your squares. Get back to your roots. Keep an eye on your squares. You'll be fine. So, what is this good? Why are you telling us this, Chris? I hear you ask. Well, let's say you've got square root of 1,000, right? Now the square root of a big number is equal to square root of a smaller number times the square root of another smaller number. So was it the square root of AB equals the square root of A times the square root of B? So you can mess about with them that way. So if you've got the square root of 1,000, that equals the square root of 10 times the square root of 100. And I'm sure you remember the square root of 100 is 10 anyway. So you can simplify it down to 10 square root of 10. Now, can you simplify it any more than that? The square root of 2 times the square root of 5? No, because they don't whatchamacallit. They don't simplify. So why don't you just keep it as 10 square root of 10, and that's it. That's a surd, but it's a simpler surd. And that's pretty much. Oh, you can also add surds. So, like for example, 3 root 2 plus 4 root 2 is 7 root 2. And you can also, it's a bit like fractions in that respect. You can mess about with them a little bit. I don't know why you'd want to be doing that, apart from in the classroom, but it seems nice to know that there's a way to deal with them, and you won't have any error unless you make a mistake. In which case, you're on your own. But anyway, that's an introduction to National 5 Maths, and I hope you found that helpful. It's difficult to do this without a whiteboard. I might get a whiteboard next time, but there are plenty of exercises you can find how to practice with surds. I just think it's a strange name. I want to know where the name surd comes from. Who thought it up? Because it makes me think of curds and tribal groups on the border of Turkey and Pakistan. But it's probably related to Latin, meaning exact number, or he who cannot be simplified, or something. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you found this introduction to Surds interesting and or amusing. I certainly have. And I hope you enjoy your day. See you next time. Goodbye.